the secret files of Teletraan 2.
Hello everyone and welcome to this show's name, which escapes me for a second, The Files of Teletraan 2.
There you go, you're on the ball, Mikey. Good start.
It's been a busy day.
It's been a hard day.
So as always guys, we're talking about comics, and as always I'm joined by the voice from the night, the shadow in my pants, the wall that stares, Andy Millman.
What's the shadow in your pants? What does that even mean? Does light go within your pants usually?
Well, you know what a black hole is?
Yes, I'm aware of the theory of one.
Basically,
maybe
around
they're
my
as
ass.
fake as the world is round. Huh?
No, don't worry. Mars is round. It's just Earth that's flat.
Oh, right. Okay, is that how it works? Okay.
We found out, like Elon Musk. So why is Mars round? Dear Mr. Musk. Well, we understand that many planets are round, but Earth's flat.
That's yep.
Followed by a tweet, we have supporters all around the globe. But anyway, we are talking comics. This week, Andy and I are talking Optimus Prime issue 13, which is the first part of a two-part story. We're talking Lost Light issue 11, which is The Plotters Club to Get Away the Dick. And in the Patreon section, we are talking Rom vs. Transformers Shining Armor issue 5. I actually have something to say before we get to Patreon about that, just to shut Alex up. I'm not shutting Alex up. Nothing can. He's a lovely, lovely, terrifying man. But I do want to say something about that before we jump to the Patreon thing. But so we'll get into it, Andy, shall we?
Sure, yeah, def.
So yeah, first up, Optimus Prime, as always written by John, but the art is by Livio this time around because it is a Dinobot story, and he's been doing the Dinobot stories for a couple of years now. So we start off because John realized, he probably woke up screaming in the middle of the night, I forgot something! I forgot to fix something! Because, hey, we're talking to the Throttle Bots.
Who?
Well, they're the guys who showed up in Spotlight Metroplex.
How long ago
weird
was
comic. That was mid All Hail Megatron, about 2008.
Oh, so like 9-10 years ago-ish.
Yeah.
Jeez, yeah, and this is the first time they've been referenced since then,
at
right?
all. Yeah, so one of them's dead as well. So we just got Goldbug, Chase, Rule Bar, and Searchlight.
No Freeway.
No Freeway. Freeway died as he lived.
Did he die, or was he simply abandoned because he was the killer all along?
Well, they mentioned that they're alive because Six Shot came back for them, and maybe they killed him because he was damaged after Metroplex.
Yeah, that was weird.
But he's clearly not dead.
No. Or he's been shelved, so he could be dead, he could not be dead.
Well, what I'm thinking is just like basically like they were running away. Freeway just turned around. Him and Six Shot are out of sight. They go back and Six Shot's gone, and Freeway's gone, and all they can hear is the wind.
And what actually happened is those two are both hiding behind a rock, and they're like, they'll think I killed you, and they're like, I know it's ridiculous. You kill me, we.
Have a beer.
I'm gonna kill you in a second, but good joke. I like it.
But then Freeway just slowly turns. The joke's on you.
Oh no.
I miss my Freeway.
I was your son all along. Quick switch? My god, what a reveal.
Then he turns around. Actually, Six Night.
Oh my god. I wish I had a table
just
to flip.
Great Shot slides in from the side. But is it me?
I like the idea of the reveal after the reveal. And it making no sense. Then John Barber would have to fix it somehow. You need to start writing comics, Mikey, and making a mess of them to make John's life a living nightmare.
Then Nightbird just sort of collapses in after she trips on a banana.
Yes, tie it into that continuity.
Please, John. So they were in a shuttle. Six Shot shot them down. They might have shot Six Shot down. Mm-hmm. They didn't, obviously. And they landed on a plant planet, which I'm fairly certain is just generally known as a planet.
I would have thought so. Unless the entire planet is actually a plant?
Well, it's called Botanica, so...
Yeah, weird.
Who knows? They've been trying to get people, pick them up, but obviously when they crashed, it was in the middle of the big All Hail Megatron fight. Here's a burp. And they've basically been hanging out there ever since, until a bunch of Beast Formers show up and try to kill them.
Yay!
Yay! Back on Cybertron, following on from from First Strike, Optimus is presiding over Sideswipe's funeral. Sunstreaker's there. Him and Sunstreaker kind of bond a bit because, Prime didn't try to save him during First Strike when everyone thought he was dead. I should say there's a lot of stuff you have to be reading at least 2 very specific books about, which I'll ask you about later on. But Prime's not really himself during this one. He's sort of like, it's hard, people don't really get how emotions take you over. And he's looking at RC and going, RC, you get it, don't you? And she goes, I killed my brother.
No, I watched you kill my brother.
I watched you rip my brother's head off. And Prime is just like, what? And then all the nerds and gossip and everyone comes up to go, oh my god, it's Optimus Prime. And Prime has a freak out.
I do like it how he's like, the freedom is the right of, I can't be asked for this, I'm going home.
I'm out, and nearly runs over Blackrock.
Great.
But Blackrock explains that Centurion, from the half-human, half-Cybertronian, has woken from stasis lock, again that's a First Strike thing, and has troubling news about the evil alien wizard Merklin who tainted the Energon reserves because they are tainted, and that's a Visionaries thing, which is also a First Strike thing. But Blackrock's got a message, and it's an image of a protoform. Prime and RC had no idea there were any, and then Swift shows up. She came in, who became a Decepticon, who kind of helped kill Sideswipe. RC kind of wants her dead. But Swift reveals that she and the Dinobots and Barricade and Sandstorm and a few others were all involved in a big skirmish where they discovered a brand new hotspot. And the hotspot vanished, but Starscream knew all about it. Prime and Blackrock go up to Starscream, who's having a bit of a freak out over having to take Energon off of Earth, and going, I totally don't know about alien cultures who developed Energon-making machines. I totally didn't try and do anything to do with that. What's a ROM? I don't know what a ROM is. You're a ROM.
Oh.
But anyway, Prime calls him out. Starscream decides to take him down to a convalescing injured party, who turns out to be Slug, the current Dinobot leader. Who reveals that the protoforms were taken from them, and he will help them track him down. There's a thing about how they say that I thought you were dead. That's because he was.
Slug was dead.
Slug, I'm not entirely sure that's Slug. I'll get into it in a bit, but okay. I have my doubts. RC, before everything kicks off, is approached by the lovely Pyra Magna.
Yay!
Yeah, who then tries her usual Pyra Magna shtick. And the entire time, I'm just looking at him, RC's going like, oh, I'll watch him. Watch you too. Because RC is not one of your innocent colonists.
No.
She knows how this game is played. She even tries talking about Prowl and saying like, oh, sure would be should be good if we had someone like him around to keep an eye on Prime. And you say, oh, Pyra is such a douche. Anyway, a team of Optimus, RC, Blackrock, and Slug hit the wilderness. They discuss basically recent events, and they come across Centurion and his new team, the Dinobots, Strafe, who is a Kamian Dinobot now, the two-headed one in case you didn't notice, and Sandstorm. This is awkward because Sandstorm shot Slug.
Oops.
Yep. Slug is off in a fit of rage and attacks, and then it turns out he's not, because Bludgeon, who's working with Starscream, or at least claiming to, is using his Void Scepter, which is a thing he used to try and control Trypticon, to manipulate the Dinobots and make them fight each other, or at least manipulate Slug. The problem here, of course, is that he's being watched by Ghost Bumblebee, who, can't help. And all is in preparation for his master. Just like, how many masters has this guy had?
He's a follower. He doesn't need to be a leader. He's a guy that likes direction.
On Botanica, Rollbar and Searchlight I think they're dead. And then Chase and Goldbug try to make a run for it. They get loomed over. Everyone's assuming it's Decepticons, obviously. But these guys have no idea who Decepticons are. But then a rescue party arrives. In the most left field he's been listening to us moment. As Prowl, using a giant gun of importance, Wheelie, Garnak, and Stardrive show up. And that's where the book ends.
Yeah.
Yeah. So first off, general impressions, Andy.
I had no idea what the fuck was going on. I absolutely had. This is so anti-reader. Like, if you haven't been reading First Strike and the Dinobot stuff, you'll have no fucking clue what's going on, because I didn't. Maybe you're smarter than me, and maybe you could piece these puzzles together, but I had no fucking clue what was going on. It made so little sense to me. And if you were one of these people who were just reading Optimus Prime, there's such a massive jump between the last issue, which was all about Elarion, to this issue. It feels like two entirely different comics. Like, this doesn't feel like an Optimus Prime issue.
This feels like it's spinning off of one of those other books.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But I was very interested in that, because I have read them, so none of this felt impenetrable to me.
Yeah.
But it's so heavy on continuity from other books.
It's ridiculous.
I mean, let's go through it. We've got the First Strike stuff. We've got Visionaries with the idea that the Energon reserves are tainted. We've got the Dinobot trilogy, where Slug was killed by Sandstorm, because Sandstorm is a convicted murderer now, who went around killing Decepticons and Autobots who committed war crimes.
What?
We'll talk about it. It's remember that motion comic that came out like 2-3 years ago?
Maybe.
This all spun out of there.
Okay. Jesus.
We're going to talk about it with a Canadian. So he was basically locked up. Then the Dinobots found a hotspot. Thanks to Swift and Barricade, Bludgeon attacked. Strafe was turned into a beast. And then Starscream sent Sandstorm to try and track down the Dinobots and find his hotspot. It didn't go well. Sandstorm killed Slug. Slug was dead. Trypticon turned out to kind of be the hotspot. He's now a Dinobot, by the way.
Okay.
He's one of the... Trypticon was basically, I never really cared about fighting in the first place. Y'all sort all this all yourself.
Okay.
And then Slug's body was recovered by Starscream, who used a mutated Sweep Spark and a kidnapped Bludgeon to resurrect him. So I don't think that's Slug at all.
Right.
I think it might be his brain, but it ain't his soul, if you know what I mean. Then we've got the Visionary stuff, which is the end of First Strike. It turned out that the entire First Strike event was being driven by a Visionary wizard in disguise, who then tainted Cybertron's Energon supply, as in everyone's Energon supply, and basically transported part of the Visionary's planet into the Cybertronian core. Now they're receiving Energon from Earth, and obviously no one's happy about that. Then we've got stuff from season 2. We've got Rom versus Transformers, and we've got a bit of Optimus Prime in there, which is the stuff with Sideswipe's funeral and Pyra. Oh, and we've got stuff from the both Revolutionaries and the Transformers First Strike Revolutionary events.
It's fucking ridiculous.
It's almost
too much.
Impenetrable.
Yeah.
For like it was testing the crossover thing, I think.
Yeah.
Or out of that, it was basically I had a lot to do and a lot of stuff I wanted to touch on. Mm-hmm. Having read all that, it works for me. Like, I know all the references, I get all that, but I can't imagine what it's like reading this when you have no idea what the fuck's been going on in any of these side books.
It feels. Did you ever read Civil War for Marvel, Mikey?
I didn't want to, but yes.
Did you just read the Civil War book and then none of the ancillary issues that connected into it?
Yes.
So, you did read that stuff, or you didn't read the extra stuff?
Didn't read. I read the Captain America stuff, but I didn't read anything else.
Yeah, I'd say it's more confusing than that. Like, I had a better idea of what was going on. This is far too heavily saying you needed to have read everything else.
Mm.
Or at least, if you had read it, you need to have remembered that stuff as well.
Yeah.
This was it was just a confusing mess from my point of view, because I don't think they do a good job of explaining anything, because they're trying to tie so much in together. You can't even like go through each point and then spell out for the people that haven't read it what the hell's been happening. Like, can you imagine how long the previously on Transformers would have been? Like, I don't think they even have it on this issue, at least not on the Comixology version.
There's just the little boxes saying check here.
Yeah. And like, if they had like what happened last time and tried to explain it all, it would be at least 2 or 3 pages of just words, I think. So yeah.
I mean, I even left stuff out. Like Prowl's gun is a big thing.
Is that an actual thing? Because that just looked weird. Like the last time I saw Prowl that I remember was from Sins of the Wreckers.
Last one I remember was Mord Meets the Eye, where there's a continuity error now because he at the end of Mord Meets the Eye he was given back his eye.
Right.
And here he doesn't have it. And I'm assuming because it's
Oh,
John,
yeah.
it's a case of there was a communication error and James accidentally wrote he has his eye back.
This was when he was working with Fort Max, wasn't it? In that kind of two-parter during the Titans Return stuff. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sorry.
But the gun is a vampiric ribbon.
Which is that?
That is a gun from which one is it? The last Autocracy book.
Oh my god.
The last one, because Megatron had it, if I'm remembering it right.
Oh my god.
And it is a gun that Optimus. No, it's from Autocracy. It's actually from Autocracy. It was the gun that what was his name? Zeta used on regular people, and it basically drains your energon dry. And stores it for later use. And then Optimus left it with Prowl and said, "You better lock this up." And the last panel was Prowl sort of staring forward with slightly narrowed eyes, going, "I will totally lock this away."
So it's the energon extractor from Transformers Prime, but in a weird big alien gun thing that looks like it's from Spawn.
Yes.
Okay.
With massive continuity behind it. Like basically, I'm just looking at the TF Wiki page right now. The continuity note thing is 1/2 of the page.
Jesus. That's too much.
That is a lot.
Yeah. And I can't even remember the last time I saw Garnak.
It was Dark Cybertron, Wheelie and Dark Cybertron.
Oh my god.
Like, can I just say, yay?
I don't know if it's the yay.
It's yay. I don't care why. They're there.
Okay.
That's the important thing. I don't give a fuck why. It's Garnak and Wheelie, yeah.
I don't think I ever cared that much for Garnak.
I did. He's so sweet.
He feels and looks so out of place.
He does.
Like he doesn't belong in a Transformers book at all.
No, he doesn't, but he's great.
Okay.
Garnak and Bob, friends for life.
Yeah.
I don't even think they've ever met. And I'm happy to see it, but Star Drive already is really making an assumption about who's reading your book. Especially since it's the Livio artwork, which means, unless you're familiar with Star Drive's, both her design and her original color scheme, this is a bit of a what? Also, this is a bit of a what to the ending of ROM if you haven't read it.
Yeah, look, I read this first before I read ROM because I was leaving ROM to the last part, and I was like, well, okay, I guess I know where characters are going to end up with ROM. Cool.
Anyway, there is some other stuff to talk about this one.
I'm sorry, Mikey. I wish I could take part more in the conversation with this, but it's just more of a what the fuck from me. I'm afraid.
Like the
bad.
thing is, it's so continuity heavy. There is nothing else to talk about for the most part.
Oh, okay.
Like, it is because what do you think of the Dinobot stuff? That's certainly tying into the other book because there's actually very little of it. What do you think of the Visionary stuff? That's tying into another book. What do you think of this? It's tying into another book.
Yeah.
Like I can think of 3 bits that are worth talking about, and they're pretty short. Okay. I mean, unless you're like, do you want to name all the beast formers that show up? And I'm just like, no, I don't. I know Hydra's there, and I'm happy enough with that.
I'm not Chris McFeely. I don't need to name them all.
I found out, listened to a podcast recently, I think it was Transmissions, they didn't know what the Blendtron symbol was, and I was verbally mocking them as I was driving.
Good. The Blendtrons are the best thing from Beast Wars. Maybe not. I like the Blendtrons.
And I am ashamed of the 3 of you.
Injector.
Yeah.
He's a lionfish and a hornet, and looks like a fucking mess.
Yeah.
It's great.
He's got muscles. Like, he's just organic. There is no robot.
No, that's such a... And I love the fact that he's in Japan, he's a herald of Unicron, because it just makes sense for the Blendtrons to be that.
Yep, because they make the least sense of all the view source.
Oh my, yes.
Oh, dear. But Optimus's stuff, I thought, was very nice.
The small bit that was there, yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was a really nice bit. I like seeing him off kilter.
Yes.
I do like it, especially since he doesn't handle it well. He's not used to it.
Yeah.
Also, I really like the RC Pyra thing because it wasn't a putting Pyra in her place, but it was like, as the reader, you're going like, who you think you talking to?
Please, girl. RC's done this shit for millions of years. Shit.
She, son.
She.
That's kind of it. It's a weird issue.
Yeah.
It's a weird issue.
It shouldn't be called Optimus Prime. This has no place being in this series.
It should be called everything.
Yeah. It should, like, if there was a book called Transformers, I guess that's where this would go.
Some sort of an compilation book or something like that.
Yeah.
But, right. So I mean, like I said, as someone who has read the other books, I really like the plot.
Mm-hmm.
Like again, I'm familiar with all of these aspects, and I'm like, oh, cool, these are coming back in. I was curious how the Dinobots were going to be worked out. I was curious how the Visionary stuff was going to play in. The Star Drive is an interesting Easter egg that I kind of wish I read this one last. I actually read this one first as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like, Centurion's cool look and everything else. The thing that really left to talk about with this issue, though, is Livio.
Yep.
How did you think it went? Because, I'm more open to Livio than most. You're about as average for Livio as some.
Yeah, I'm not going to throw him into a fire or in front of a train or anything, but I'm certainly not a fan.
It was a mixed issue.
Was it? Okay. It just seemed
opinion.
like a lot of the usual Livio kind of problems that I generally have.
Well, something that worked with the Dinobot books is that the sort of exaggerated proportions and stuff he does, they kind of worked with the Dinobots because they were going for this slightly out there visual for the whole thing, especially with Bludgeon. So he worked well in those contexts, which is what I've been familiar with him lately. Here, he's doing normal-ass people.
Yeah.
And, like, Blackrock looks odd. And, like, Marissa was there, and she looked... Like, I could tell it was Marissa just because she's the girl.
Yeah.
And that's not something I like saying.
Well,
Yeah. Not his best issue.
No.
As someone who likes the general style, if not always the execution. Like, he can't do action to save his life. I'm sorry, Livio. Like, I like what you do, but not in that context.
I was amused by the image of Starscream and Prime coming through the door when they see Slug, and did you see how weirdly shaped Starscream's wings were in that shot?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like two giant biscuits kind of stuck onto his body.
Maybe they are biscuits.
Maybe.
Starscream wants his bickies.
It's so weird.
All right. So, yeah, this one comes to a rather quick end because it's just such a difficult one to talk about. And I think I feel like our ratings are very much going to reflect less our opinions of the book and more our experience with the massive amounts of plot and continuity.
I think that's good because it means that people who have different experiences will hear from the people who also had the different experiences.
So, Andy, as raw in there, sloppy wet, whatever you want to say. What's your rating on this one?
I'm gonna have to give it a 3 because it does no attempt to try and to ease you into it. It goes in. It's not sloppy wet. It goes in dry and it goes in hard, and it's not a pleasant experience. The artwork can't even push it up marks as well. I'm giving it a 3 and not lower, only because I can tell that it would probably have made more sense if I'd read the other comics. But I do feel a little insulted that they're slapping me across the face saying, to enjoy this, you had to read the other stuff. You should buy our other comics. It doesn't feel nice for that to be the case. Especially, like it was said, if there was a line called Transformers, which was the line where you knew that it was heavily referencing other comics and that to enjoy that book, you'd need to read everything else. That's fine. But in a book called Optimus Prime, which is just literally called nothing else but Optimus Prime, for there to be such little amounts of Optimus Prime and his cast, it feels super out of place. If this is in the trade, this is gonna stand out horrendously badly in a trade, unless it's the start of its own trade. So 3.
Yeah. As someone who has read it and read everything else, and I did understand most. I had to look up the weapon reference at the end, but I got everything else. I would give it a 7.
Okay.
It's very, very plot heavy, but the plot is quite quick. I was like, ooh, all these things being referenced again. I wonder where this is going. The character stuff, I think, when it does stop to do it, is pretty well done. it's just, for as an issue, pretty decent. Not amazing, but a good solid read if you know what's going on. But my God, do you have to know what's going on? So yeah, it's probably our most bipolar rating.
Yes. But then again, like we said, we're coming from two very different places, so it kind of makes sense.
So we'll move on from there into Lost Light issue 11. Usual creative team behind this. I was going to say actually no, but then I remembered Jack draws all these. So this is part 2, which is how Getaway got away with it. So it turns out Getaway has been sort of spilling his guts to the only psychiatrist left on the Lost Light, which is Freud, who I assumed was dead.
Same.
But it turns out, in the months building up, Getaway and Atomizer met every member of the Lost Light, kept a record of everyone who said yes, wiped the memory of everyone who said no. This we knew. However, they had a list of over 24 undecided voters. They didn't know what to do with that. Ho-hum. They also, we get to see Getaway's approach to thing, which is, he really looks at how to manipulate people emotionally. Like, Mainframe just really wants to matter. Thunderclash just wants to, do what's best for everyone, etc., etc. It's Getaway using the kind of thinking he used on Tailgate. We also have some references to how he used to leave Tailgate waiting to make everything sweeter. Oh, what a prick.
I read that and it did make me laugh. Oh, man. That's a good dick right there.
And important, Getaway left a message to people that if anything ever happened to him, it was because Megatron was finally turning his team against everyone else, and they needed to make a move. So, after being locked up, everyone heads off to Necro World. Mainframe realizes that, this is the moment. Everyone lets go of Getaway, and Getaway calls in his favor. Now, we then get something that annoyed me again, which are pages lifted directly from Mord Meets the Eye.
Yeah.
I don't see why this had to be this. I don't see why this couldn't have been new art with some new dialogue or new angles and established things. This is... apparently they did add extra pages to the book for this, but that still doesn't make it not annoy me.
No, because it didn't need to be done, because you should know what happened.
Yeah.
It's part of the same story. So.
Yep. Basically the contact, and it turns out no one knew he was going to contact the Galactic Council. Because they all thought, they're a bit extreme. And the call, we find out why the call was terminated, which was Megatron started talking about how you need to start thinking of others, and Getaway, probably to make sure no one got any ideas, had them cut off the call immediately. Getaway sort of considers giving the council a call and saying, hey, maybe not murder everyone, just him, and they don't pick up, but he's not really bothered, but he's still lying to everyone and telling them that he did. Anyway, so it turns out he brought with him some information from Luna 1 when he was Tyrest's prisoner, and it's basically a subspace warren, a series of quantum tunnels that Tyrest had intended to take Luna 1 into to try and get to Cyber Utopia before he built his, gateway of death. Getaway basically calls everyone together and explains that using this and the map that Rodimus put on the desk, which has been amended by Thunderclash, they can basically track down Cyber Utopia in a period of weeks. And as this is going on, Blaster gets the distress call, and Getaway says, "Fuck it." He thinks it might be the guys, but they're not, and yay. Basically, his attitude is, we're not helping anyone anymore. People are kind of like, what? And it's just like, nope, we've got a period of weeks to do this. We can go, we can do this, we're fine. And then a call comes in, and it's from Rodimus. And we find out what Rodimus's last words were. He wants Death's Head to track down Getaway and murder him with a gun made out of Rodimus's body. If anyone doesn't remember...
How very Rodimus.
How very Rodimus. If anyone doesn't remember, the Mord Meets the Eye, the last story, involved everyone doing their last will and testament.
Ah, that's right.
And in the process, he kind of reveals that Getaway didn't just call the Galactic Council. He may have called the DJD.
Whoops.
May. He then says it's fake news. Totally fake news. Totally. Fake news. We're going to be a great leader. Going to make great progress towards cyber utopia. And Getaway basically chases everyone out. Atomizer, because it's Atomizer, and Thunderclash, because he ain't going to leave. Because he's basically right, I'm going to go save someone, and then Atomizer shoots him in the throat.
With an arrow. I thought that was pretty cool.
That was pretty cool. And Getaway shoots him with the nudge gun multiple times. And it turns out Getaway has a real thing about Thunderclash being seen as special and some kind of matrix bearer. And we also find out that Getaway wants to be Getaway Prime, which is worrying. And then we find out Riptide was watching. Oh, and then he gets shot with the nudge gun because Riptide was watching. And then Freud comes into the story as Getaway and Atomizer free him because he was held in prison, and Sunder, the psychotic nemosurgeon serial killer. Basically, in return for using his remote nemosurgeon abilities to trap Thunderclash in a loop and alter the memories of the crew who saw the transmission, and basically convince everyone that nothing is wrong, no one's going to die, and I'm actually very pretty from the left. Except Thunder wants payment. And what he basically wants is to eat people's spines.
As you do.
25 people for this job. Atomizer starts going I'm not really comfortable with this. Maybe Getaway is becoming a bit crazy because, listen, we need to do this. I'm going to be a Prime. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be fantastic. Totally amazing. Totally fantastic. Totally not colluding with Russia. Thunder agrees because they have a list of 24 maybes. The undecided voters, which as I'm reading it, I'm realizing what the actual undercurrent of that is.
Yeah.
Most of it didn't go by me. That one actually did. Are basically fed to semi-tame scraplets living in the oil reserve. And then their spines are taken out and kept in preservation until Sunder wants them.
I did think it was weird that the scraplets didn't eat the spines.
Maybe they're not the tasty bits.
Or were they told not to? Because they seemed to, Getaway seemed to suggest they had a dialogue of some sort, right?
Yeah, he did something. Yeah. But anyway, we cut to the present. The Protectobots didn't escape the ship at all. They're actually they were captured while trying to make a run for it, and they've just been put in a looping memory where they think they've left. And Riptide, it turns out, it didn't work because the nudge gun, for some reason, has stopped working on him. I get the feeling like Riptide just keeps walking into things and getting shot, so he's just developed a natural immunity. So Riptide, Atomizer, and Getaway go down to the oil reserve, and they, Riptide saying, go fuck yourself, and Getaway's like, if only I had an evil plan. If only. And we find out about his scraplets, and then he shoots Riptide one more time, wiping his memory of the fact he can turn into a boat, and pushes him into the reservoir, because they need to pay Thunder to lock the Protectobots. And that's the issue. Andy!
Yes.
Again, overall impressions.
Overall, I thought I enjoyed it until a few specific things, which were very much a brick to my face and broke my nose.
It certainly takes you out of the reading experience.
It really did. It felt like I was being hit in the head over and over again with something that I'm usually hit over and over again in the head with on the internet every single day. So that was
the news, and the papers, and every neighbor you have.
Fucking everywhere, which really left a bitter taste in my mouth of going, really? I see what you're going for. I know comics are a platform to do this, but there was a way to do this in a much subtler way without having to literally use the term fake news. When I read that, really upset me because I was like, there is no fucking need for that bullshit to be in a Transformers comic. If you're gonna do it in a fucking subtle way. Don't use the exact terminology.
Yeah.
You're a smarter writer in theory than this, James. Don't stoop to this sad level.
It was a moment where I just went, wow, that was on... Now, politics in comics is nothing new. Politics in this comic is nothing new.
Sure.
But this wasn't politics. This was fake news, a term that made no sense in the context.
No.
Because Getaway was not doing a political campaign. Getaway was panicking over the idea that people are going to find out he sent mass murderers to kill everyone.
Yeah. But you got to hit those sick memes, Mikey, to get your Tumblr likes, and I'm sorry to bring that up, but that's again kind of how it felt, because that's more of a meme saying than anything else.
Yeah, and then we had the murder of the undecided voters.
Yep.
Which, yeah. We also had, the Brexit ones, I'm just looking at them now.
Yeah.
So, the will of the people has been realised, all without a single shot being fired. This is important in two ways. The will of the people refers to one of the buzz phrases of the Brexit referendum in the UK, and the single shot, without a single shot being fired, is an infamous statement because Nigel Farage, classic character that he is, said that after Joe Cox was shot by a Brexiteer.
How tasteful.
Shouting Brexit slogans.
How tasteful. And especially tasteful to have that in a Transformers comic.
Yes, I get it. Political statements in comics,
sure,
not unusual, but you got to have the subtext.
Yeah.
You know, the whole every time Captain America has done a story about what is the will of the people versus the will of the country, or that time Superman went and basically blocked off a military who were trying to shoot peaceful protesters, and all he did was stand there. You know, and renounced his U.S. citizenship because he didn't like where things were going. That was contextually sensible, and for within the context of things, relatively subtle. This is a direct quote from a thing that doesn't tie into the events of what's going on.
Yeah,
I don't see Getaway as an analog for Brexit.
No,
I don't see him as an analog for Trump. Right. There was another one which is a quote from Theresa May, but I'm not going to bother with that. I don't know. It was a bit... I try to be apolitical in terms of how I view material.
Sure.
But I have been turned off books because of overtly strong political messages. For instance, I can't read Fable anymore, which was a very well-reviewed comic, and I thought the first volume was amazing. And the second volume becomes severe right-wing propaganda. Like, we're talking pro-gun, anti-abortion, pro-Israel... heavy stuff. And it took me out of the reading experience, and it just made me step back, and the stories got shitter as they tried to make them more political. I don't think James is going down that road, but I think the subtlety of his political messages, which were there before, the complexity of communism, the complexity of right-wing, left-wing politics, everything like that, you know, it's never been a secret he is a left-leaning individual. It worked before. This is just sticking in phrases. Awkward phrases. Right. But apart from that, I thought it was a really good read. That's the thing. If it hadn't been for those little lines taking me out of it, it would have been a very high-scoring book for me.
Yeah, same. It would be much higher than I've been given it for a while, but these really drag it down, in my opinion.
But let's talk about some specifics. So, what do you think of Getaway's whole perspective on things?
In what terms? His relation to the crew, or
well,
what?
We've always seen Getaway as an outsider, or rather, we are the outsiders looking into this. This is entirely from his perspective. Yeah. This is how Getaway sees the crew, himself, everyone. I mean, did you feel enlightened? Did Getaway do nothing wrong?
Like Griffith from Berserk.
Yeah.
That's for those fun fans that have read Berserk.
Go watch the modern show. You'll love it.
Oh, just read any of the Golden Arc to the end. Griffith did nothing wrong. Jesus, that's a statement. He certainly has an agenda. That's for sure. And from his perspective, he is doing everything correctly. From his point of view, he did nothing wrong. But he very much has a plan, and it's weird to hear him say that he wants to be a Prime, because I don't think that's ever been alluded. Has that been talked about?
I actually had to check this one, but I don't know. It was either in Records or More Than Meets the Eye,
right?
Where someone said that Getaway showed signs of compatibility with the Matrix.
Oh.
Because, like, Springer has it, Getaway has a few others. I think it has something to do with your spark color or your eye color or something like that. In individuals who have a natural compatibility with the Matrix, they're not destined to get the Matrix.
Yeah.
Like, they're not they're not I am to be a prime.
But they have the ability to contain it within them.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And, Getaway constantly refers to Thunderclash as a trophy cabinet because he apparently doesn't have this affinity. He carried the Matrix.
Ooh,
because
let's
Optimus
do a Kamen Rider reference. Just because you can put the bat bottle into the build driver doesn't mean he can transform with the bat bottle and the Cobra bottle.
Don't be that guy.
There you go, Mikey. As I push those glasses up my nose and put on my Kamen Rider cap.
And alienate every listener we've got.
Yeah! As they run for the hills.
Flee! Yeah, it is like it was a one-panel thing.
Right, okay.
So, but yeah, it is... I think what's new is that he gives a crap about it. Like, that is a new perspective. And, it does color how he interacts with people, because it becomes, people are always arguing, was Getaway really that bad a guy? Is he doing what he thinks is right? And this really puts out, this is not coming from a good place.
No.
Yeah.
But do we know why he's this much of a dick, though? Or is this just being shown him as a dick? I hope, if that's the case, we haven't been shown why, it shows us why he feels so inadequate in a lot of ways. Because he clearly feels inadequate next to Thunderclash.
Oh, yeah. But, yeah, I'm very curious to see where it goes. I know, I'm like, you can make some inferences, but I would like to have a bit of a conversation about it at some point.
Sure.
Assuming any of them survive this arc, because I have a theory on what's going to happen to Getaway and the rest, but I'm going to wait until the final book in this arc. What else is interesting? What do you think about the big horror reveals in this? Because there were several, actually. What's going on with the spines, Riptide's, seeming death, how Atomizer and Getaway have been working behind the scenes, manipulating people. There's a lot of very dark imagery in this.
Is it really bad that I didn't find them that horrific?
I think I was expecting something worse from the spine thing, and it's a strange thing to say. Like, he's letting people be eaten so that someone can eat their spines.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just I've watched too much Attack on Titan.
I did think to myself it sounded very practical.
It does.
And when they were talking about the business transaction of 25 chords for like 2,000 memory rewrites or something like that, I was like, that's a pretty good deal. I mean, that's a lot of work. I would imagine that's not just something you put in the microwave and it's done in like 15 minutes, right? That's a good fee, I would think.
Presumably it's no one we knew.
Oh, like, if it is, there'll be characters that don't matter.
Yeah. Because I would like it if it turned out to be someone significant. Just because. Not because I want them dead. It's just like, why not?
It's Buzzsaw. Buzzsaw's randomly there. I just wanted to be part of something again. Why are you here? I just wanted friends. I'll take anyone.
Laserbeak's a dick. Oh dear. But
I did like Atomizer in this issue. He's a guy that's kind of been lurking in the background, doing little bits here and there. I think this is the most focus he's really ever had. I mean, he's still a secondary character in the book, but
oh god, yeah.
I like that he was shown to be like, whoa, hang on a tick. I think you might be going a little bit crazy here, Getaway. This isn't exactly what we agreed on. We just wanted to kill Megatron and betray Rodimus and get rid of those assholes. I didn't say anything about feeding people to like this crazy psycho.
Yeah.
It's one step too far.
After he shot Thunderclash in the throat.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, he was just trying to paralyze him.
Go good!
I did like that line. I was like, well, that's fair enough.
But it hit him in the front.
It did hit him in the front, and I'm not sure exactly how it was meant to paralyze him if it hit his neck, but,
just like paralyze him as he's lying there on the ground choking. I can't do anything.
He did stop moving, so it did work.
He went into shock. Like, who's their doctor? Jesus.
I don't
think about it.
It's Hoist. Yeah, Hoist probably had to fix
wonderful.
that. Yeah.
Wonderful. It's Hoist. Andy.
Yeah.
The doctor is Hoist.
I like the idea that Hoist just looked at it, stroked his chin a bit, and went, and then put duct tape over it and went, fixed.
I'm going to point out that after Ratchet left,
yeah,
First Aid was in charge. And after First Aid was in charge, Velocity, who had been up with the crew for about 2 weeks, and who was only just after graduating from medical school, was put in charge. Not Hoist. Never Hoist.
Yeah.
He just wraps his crane around people and tugs. I've come in with a sore throat. Hang on. Oh, that's the problem. Your head came off.
My idea of Hoist now is Hoist has the voice of, Ham from Toy Story, that guy.
Mm.
And he's some kind of just low maintenance plumber on the ship, and he was only really in charge of like the real low level stuff.
Mm.
And he's been given this amazing, like, you're a head neurosurgeon now. Get to work. Okay, time to get my hands dirty.
Oh dear. One last thing. What do you think of the MacGuffin about how they got this close to cyber utopia so fast?
Oh, sorry, I thought you meant the nudge gun.
No, the nudge gun. I want to save the nudge gun for the end.
Okay, right.
So.
I looked at the image of that big mess, and I thought to myself, so effectively what this is the universe's Christmas lights.
I saw it as a fungal network.
Okay, you saw it in a much more intelligent way than I did.
No, I didn't, Andy. No, I didn't.
Because to me, it just looks like a bunch of Christmas lights all tangled up. It just needs the actual lights plopped on it, and it's like the universe went, I'll fix that later. It's probably all right. It doesn't need to be untangled just yet. It does just seem to be a thing that is just like, oh, well, you've been holding on to this information for a while, Getaway. Almost like it was just written into the story.
Hmm.
Was it ever hinted at that he had something
No.
like this?
No, this is completely new.
Maybe that should have been hinted at beforehand, so it doesn't feel like it came out of nowhere.
I mean, presumably it's like, oh, he kept it to himself because he didn't trust anyone.
That's fair enough.
But also, like, maybe something like, well, Getaway said he knew how to get us there faster. Or something like that.
Yeah, I would have thought he would have mentioned this to at least Atomizer, and that would have been one of the things in one of those issues with Atomizer where he maybe would have mentioned something like that to get them on the side, and during those interviews he could have had that something. I don't know. I mean, how did you take this fungal network, Mr. Mikey?
Ugh, it's not as dumb as that, but it's MacGuffin City.
Yeah.
It is. Ho ho! Yep, this is the solution to all of life's problems.
Oh, what if, Mikey, the way that they got through this, if Brainstorm was on the ship, you know how they would have got through this mess? They would have used a remote control, and he would have called it the slider machine.
Yep.
And then we would have had a terrible reference to a really shitty to sci-fi show.
Yep, would be amazing. But yeah, because what I'm assuming is going to happen at the end of this book, based on the sort of weird vision Drift had, they're going to go wherever they think cyber utopia is.
Right.
Like them, Scorponok, Rodimus's crew, and since he's already there, Pharma. And Spark Eaters of some sort. This is all going to come together, and I think there was a realization that if they got there this quick without having to do anything special, it would basically just say the entire 2 years of reading Morden Meets the Eye was a waste of your time. 4 years. Sorry.
Yeah.
Because oh wow, they could have just got there in like a week and a half.
That would be hilarious and funny and sad at the same time. Would be like, oh man, Jesus.
So, what about the other MacGuffin, the nudge gun?
The nudge, wow, it's really useful, that gun.
Yep, can literally do everything.
It can fix any issue.
How does it work?
I don't know.
This has been confusing me, because when it was Tyrest, it was just like there was a special shot that's been programmed to do this. Now it's literally just he shoots someone. Is it what he's thinking at the time?
I like to believe it's some kind of Alt-Control-Delete kind of button. Just deletes the file in their brain somehow. It just works. You don't need to think about it, Mikey. It just works, okay?
Oh dear.
Like the fact that he does it matter if he shoots someone multiple times? We're seemingly getting riptide.
Just cut to Blaster. Blaster, can you sort things out? I'm driving the ship.
It's the old
Blaster, you're on communications. I'm driving the ship.
Oh dear, we've shot him too many times.
Shoot him again.
It'll fix the problem. Yeah, that gun. It's a neat idea, but it's an idea that maybe has been abused and made more powerful than it was perhaps originally intended. right?
I don't know. It's one thing I kind of want it to be broken next. Like, I want it not working Riptide to be assigned that he's just overtaxed it or something, and it stops working. I'd like that to be permanent.
I did unfortunately see the preview for the next issue, and I was okay.
I haven't, so...
It spoils stuff straight away, so don't bother.
Okay. But I did like Riptide being pushed into the pond.
Riptide matters again, finally.
Yeah, Riptide matters. I'm a boat in it. I can't swim. But on the one hand, I did like the fact it was Riptide because Riptide.
Do you not feel like there's so much focus being put onto Riptide again because no one cared about him, and this is how we get people to care about the character that nobody liked?
Maybe, but you could also say everybody who mattered left the ship, and now it's Riptide's time to shine. But I do like the concept of the idea of how do you murder someone who turns into a boat in water, or in oil in this case. You make him forget he can be a boat. Yeah. And presumably he can't swim, because that would be embarrassing.
Well, they're robots. I would imagine it's quite hard to be buoyant for the most part.
Well, you don't turn into a boat. Yeah, but I can back paddle.
How?
Doesn't
that make your robot mode completely shit then? If you can just swim?
I'm a little faster. Not a lot faster.
It's almost like you're some kind of shitty hover boat.
Yeah. And then Nautica just comes by as a submarine.
There we go.
I'm a submarine. Oh, I can go into space. Why? Why do you have VTOLs?
Space
Why? Travel. Why do you need VTOLs in space?
Because you can use the vacuumless void to propel yourself forward by sucking in the void and expelling it behind you. Right?
I'll take your word for it.
Like, if I get a rowing boat in space and I row, I'm going to go forward relative to whatever that means in space.
How would you tell?
Yes. But I know.
Would you have a spacesuit?
I hope so. I'm not a void to the deadliness of space. I'm not a tardigrade.
It's a completely unmodified kayak.
Yeah,
but just you and not you in a full spacesuit. You in just a space helmet, but proper rowing gear,
and one flag at the back.
And one flag,
so they know.
And over your speaker, just someone going stroke.
I can get Petrina to do that. She's good at the rowing.
Oh, true. Actually, I know a rower as well. We get them to double act.
There you go.
Anyway, we're off topic, so I think it's time to wrap it up. Andy.
Sure. Yes.
What is the rating on this issue?
Because it was almost a good issue. Once again, it was almost there to be something I really enjoyed, but then I got at least two bricks into the face, and like I mentioned, my nose was broken by it. I'm gonna have to probably give it a 6. I would have given it much. I would have probably given it an 8 or more if it didn't have those awful bits in it, to be honest. But it dragged me out so hard. 6 is the highest I could go for it. What about you, Mikey?
I could go for a 7. Okay. Those bits took me out. Also, I think that it was an interesting reveal, very good character stuff, and some nice horror, but not a lot of new information.
Sure.
I mean, it's basically Getaway's manipulating everyone, which we all already knew. We just get a little bit more. We get Getaway's perspective on the manipulation. The new information was stuff like Sunder and Freud, and that's still not a lot of new. And again, 2 wasted pages. Again, I know it didn't take from the page count, but it took away from the experience of the reader, mostly because it jumped to Alex's art, and I was just like, oh!
Hey.
Oh, no.
How you doing, buddy?
No. So yeah, I wanted to like it more, but I will still say I am really getting into this arc.
Yeah.
Between this and the last issue, there are going to be some bricks that are going to age poorly.
Yes.
Quite poorly. But hopefully, issue 3 should be past all the flashbacks and stuff, so it's just cool stuff, and I want to see Defensor Punch get away into a bulkhead.
Yeah. And the only thing that could ruin it is more stuff like in this issue, which I hope we've got past.
Bookends. Getaway leads now. Yeah. What? No. And it's just him sitting on Defensor's fist as a puppet. Getaway says, drive the fucking boat. Are you sure you're not saying that, Defensor? You want to argue with me? No, sir.
We're good.
That's right. Getaway's still alive as well. Oh, there. So, that is the end of the main show. Or is it? Technically it is, but this is the Patreon show will be ROM vs. Transformers Shining Armor issue 5. This is the end of that series, and it is our last chance to talk about that series. And we have not been able to talk about it in the context of the free show. Now, I don't want to do a review of issue 5 here. I think that would be silly.
Yes.
But I want to ask you, Andy.
Okay, yes, go, yes.
Give the freebie viewers, or listeners rather, because they can't see me. You can't see me. That's not a camera. Actually, it is a camera. Oh, God, they can see me. Give everyone out there your opinion of this miniseries in as brief as possible fashion.
Really good. It's really worth reading. It's the best comic Transformer-wise out there at the moment, I would say. It's a satisfying experience. You can read the 5 issues and put it down, not feel you've missed anything. It's just really enjoyable. Everything's done right, and the artwork's really good.
Yeah, my opinion is it is probably the best Transformers miniseries that doesn't have the word Wreckers in it.
Yeah, I'd be alright with saying that.
It is an excellent read where the creative team is like John Barber, Christos Gage, Alex Milne, Josh Perez, Priscilla Tramontano, Tom B. Long, Carlos Guzman. Everyone involved in this book deserves a hearty round of applause.
Oh, yes.
Everyone brought their A game. There was not a single dropped ball in terms of that. It looks amazing. The artwork is really, like, Alex is going hell for leather doing this.
Oh, yes.
John and Christos wrote an incredibly engaging story with some wonderful character work and very action-packed. Funny in places, tragic in others. This is the best crossover I have read in recent years. And I'm not talking about Transformers. I mean, this is the best the only thing that probably at the same level. And in fact, no, I'll say it's the second best. Because I will say Batman for the Flash, The Button, which was a Rebirth crossover. That was probably edging it out just because of the character stuff.
Sure.
But DC hasn't done something this good. Marvel hasn't done something this good. Image hasn't done something this good. Top Cow has never done something this good. I say this as a fan of Top Cow, but it's a guilty pleasure. This is how to do a crossover. And this is a lesson that every comic book maker could learn from. Especially especially Marvel, who won't stop.
Oh, Marvel.
Dear Marvel, stop.
Yeah.
It was just a wonderful experience. Many people weren't reading it because it was a crossover. I totally understand. Now you know what we think. Go out and buy it. Pick up a trade. Pick up the individual issues. Pick it up somehow. Comixology, physical, I don't care. This is worth reading. This kind of stuff is worth supporting. Especially since it seems like we're going to be moving into an era, according to solicitations, where the crossover element is either dialed back or kind of retconned away.
Okay.
Solicitation, like Hasbro and IDW both said that going forward, Transformers stories are going to be Transformers stories. And the Scarlet Strike Force book has already been cancelled. It's still coming out for 3 issues, but it's been cancelled. And I think ROM and Micronauts is going to be a miniseries.
Right.
I think this thing is dying off because I don't think it was a big financial success.
I thought that G.I. Joe Scarlet thing was cancelled for other reasons.
There were other reasons, which I won't go into here, but
Yeah.
it turns out the guy doing it may not be the nicest person who ever lived.
That's what I heard, yeah.
Or the most appropriate at times.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, a lot. The crossover thing, I don't think it really worked because a lot of the books didn't do the numbers they hoped. ROM ended pretty much in the middle of its run,
Right.
like a lot of stories to pick up. But this was an amazing story and needs to be read. So that is my lengthy gushing. Don't worry, Patreon listeners, I'm going to gush more.
Woo!
But yeah, so everyone, as always, thank you all for listening. If you'd like to support our show, go over to the Moonbase 2 Patreon, and for $2 a month, you will be able to get this and several other shows, including Moonbase Woo Woo, where we will do extended bits, and you'll get interviews a week early, and other fun facts and things. Anything we can stick together when we're bored, basically. Thank you all for listening, and we'll be back next month, I think. Next month it'll be Transformers vs. Visionaries for Patreon.
Oh, that would make sense, yeah.
If I'm right about the release dates, but we'll see. Patreon guys, stick around so you can hear us gush far, far more. And we'll talk to you again soon. Andy, Andy,
Yes.
before we go, would you like to show yourself?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter and Tumblr, CCTFW, on YouTube as Cobra Commander TFW, and as Mikey said, do the Moonbase 2 Patreon. There's Libsyn, there's iTunes, there's Facebook. If you want to leave us a review on iTunes, it would be very much appreciated to maybe, in theory, get us noticed a bit more and get it out there to some new people. Would be always a good and fine thing, if you could.
Yes, we would really appreciate that, especially now we know we have an enemy.
Yes, exactly.
We have seen the enemy, and he is us. And if you want to know what that was, listen to the most recent Moonbase 2. Or it wouldn't be the most recent when this came out, would it?
No. Well, for the freebie listeners, no.
437 or something like that. I can never remember what number we're on.
475.
Oh my god, we don't have lives.
Nope.
Oh dear. Anyway, guys, thank you so much, and we will talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
You are now leaving